right, welcome everybody to the Queer Profits Podcast, where we dive into topics and issues nobody wants to talk about, both in the world, socially, and in your business. Queer Profits is all inclusive. Remember, everyone here, everyone is welcome, and I do mean everyone. If you've ever felt like you didn't fit in, then you found your place. No matter what, no matter who you are, no matter who you love, no matter what. So on today's episode, I am really, really excited. We're going to be actually talking to my friend, my colleague, and my client. This is the first, I think, Mr. Carlton Brown. And we're going to actually talk a lot about a lot of different things. I'm going to let him introduce himself as I always do, but you're going to hear a story about somebody who specifically in the pandemic went from owning a catering business, if you can imagine, right? A business where he could have been you've heard me say OOB, right? He could have been out of business to potentially getting into one of the nation's biggest retailers with a brand new product that he developed and is marketing during the pandemic. So you'll hear about that as we move along. And of course, we will always include the three pillars, which are inclusion, community, and growth. So welcome, Carlton. I'm excited to have you here. So tell the folks a little bit about yourself.
Well, thank you so much, Diane. Thank you. So I'm Carlton Brown. I am the chef and owner of Occasional Occasions by Carlton. We're a full service off-premise catering company. Been in business for 27 years. And most recently, July of last year, 2020, we launched a new facet of our company. It's called Bon Appetit, y'all, by Carlton. It's a e-commerce gourmet condiment line. So very proud of that. Diane pushed my butt like nobody else's business to get that up and running, literally every component in 30 days. But I am so grateful that she pushed me, and that's my baby now.
Yeah, interesting. We'll talk about that. So Carlton, tell us, I want to talk about a couple things with you before we actually get into the story piece of sort of your what I'm calling your pandemic story, if you will. Mm-hmm. But so I want to talk about a couple things. First of all, you are certified through the National Gay and Lesbian Chamber. You're a veteran certified business. Talk for a minute about, I don't think I've talked to anybody else about this since we started the podcast. Talk a little bit about the importance of being certified as a business owner, whether you think it is or whether you think it's not.
Okay, and I'm a trifecta. I'm also minority certified.
There we go. See.
So with certifications, it's the one thing that you always hear about is people have the assumption that, once you're certified, doors are supposed to open and all this business is going to come your way. Well, certification is no different than just another opportunity. But every opportunity, you still have to work. It's not slathering butter on the bread. You've got to actually work to make this damn sandwich. So there's a lot, it opens the door and gives you access to contacts and relationships that you would have never had, or most likely would have never had, or never acquired on your own. And it gets you that foot in these corporations' doors who are looking to do business with diverse companies. So for me, it's a very major part of my business strategy. I maximize my relationships in every opportunity I can when it comes to participating in events that are, catered to supplier and diversity. And I look forward to going to those events, meeting these contacts, following up with them, building relationships over time, and eventually doors are opening and, doors will open. Some of my largest corporate accounts now are due to my relationship with my certification and how I was introduced to the supplier diversity team at these corporations. And, once you still have to prove yourself, you still have to show up, you still got to do you the best you can do. But once you impress one, they pass you around. And like Georgia Power is my largest corporation, and they pass me around like peanuts. And I love it. But they respect me. They know when to call me, when they're looking for something really upscale and impressive, call Carlton. And I love having that relationship. Another, recent relationship that looks like the doors are finally busting open is with Coca-Cola. I've been chasing them for over 5 years easily. And in 2019, before the pandemic, I had two small events, and I say small, they were small events that for Coca-Cola. Um, that was a blessing because I finally got my foot in the door. Now, after COVID, I just got a call, email, 2 or 3 weeks ago. Okay, we're doing this huge blowout, with all our employees, and I was told to call you. So the word is like, passing around, call this guy. And so I can see already that relationship is blossoming. But like I say, you just have to work those relationships. But I personally think it's very um, beneficial because the other thing is with these certifications, the team that runs these organizations, the NGLCC, the MSMDC, they are in direct relations with these corporations. So when a corporation comes and say, "Well, I'm looking for ABC," they have all this information. They have you in a database. It's nothing for me to get email. Carlton, we got such and such company looking for this. Does this meet your criteria? If so, here's the information. Go apply. So it's opportunities that I would never gotten on my own. So it's definitely a huge plus.
Great. Yeah, you've done a lot of things, in the 4 or 5 years that you and I've known each other and been working together. I mean, you got to participate in, the Super Bowl and do some things when the Super Bowl was here. Or that, oh, I'm not supposed to say that, am I? The big football, the Super Bowl was in Atlanta a couple of years ago. Actually, I think that's past, but you participated in something at Georgia Power where it was a competition where you got, your name splattered across one of the buses here in Atlanta. So, it's just been fun for me to watch you sort of grow and progress and do these things that you don't think are any big deal, but for most people, it's a big darn deal to get to play in the Super Bowl and to, have your business name splashed across a MARTA bus that's driving through Atlanta because you won a competition. And I got to, actually see you do that. So that was fun for me.
Yeah.
So it's been
a great ride so far. And you've helped me open up my believe in myself more and open up my myself and challenge myself and to see the rewards of that it's been great.
Yeah. And it's interesting because you've been in business now 27 years, right? So when you and I started working together, I mean, you'd already been in business 20 plus years. So it's not like you were a newbie guy kind of thing.
Right.
It's that piece of, no matter where we are in our business. And I've been in business 30 years and I've never been without a coach, a mentor, in a mastermind group kind of thing. And so
Right.
it's interesting how people think, well, I'm established, I know what I'm doing. Yeah, you do. And you never know what that little push, can help.
Exactly. Well, I tell people, even when I, people, when I mention that I have a coach, I'm invited to a lot of, being on different panels and things like that. So, I had the opportunity to speak to, groups, on a regular basis. And every time I mention, well, my business coach, they stop. They're like, oh, business coach? Can you tell us a little bit about your relationship with your business coach? Or somebody on the panel or somebody in the audience or whatever will, talk about this business coach. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
But a lot of people don't. I tell people all the time when I tell them, I'm very proud that I have a business coach because I can't figure this stuff out. But I tell them that, having a business coach, you don't know what you don't know. And you can be stuck in the same place and think that you are gravy because you don't know what's on the other side of that fence. You just have no clue. And you don't even know if it's worth you looking over the side of the fence because you're happy with where you're at. But if you stick your head over that fence and see what opportunities are there, and you have somebody that can help navigate you through that, it can make a huge difference. And even with my business, prior to joining up with you, 20 years, um, I had ran my business as a ma and pa type of business. I was happy to get enough money in to pay my bills. Didn't pay me, but the bills were being paid, and I was happy with that. I was a solopreneur, wore every hat, did everything myself. Was afraid to delegate. Was afraid to let somebody else touch my magic. Um, but once you started preaching, and I got the idea, well, I could really grow this business to be a phenomenal entity if I do the right thing. And it was about 6 years ago now that I made that decision. I'm going to grow my business. And that's when I started taking your advice and, procedures, setting up procedures, following procedures, delegating, stop micromanaging, you know, the one thing that I preached this just the other night, Diane. Uh, I, gentleman, new chef was working with me, and we were doing a party together, and I was anxious and looking forward to him because he's got some mad skills on the plate. I love what he does. But this was our first time working together, and I called him Friday morning, and our event was that afternoon. He says, "You know what? I'm nervous." I said, "You nervous about what?" He says, I'm just nervous about this whole thing, about us working together, and want to make sure we satisfy the client." I said, "Let me tell you a story." I says, "Our expectations out of a 1 to 10 is a 12. The client's expectations are an 8. If we delegate and if we screw up and only do a 10, we've still far exceeded the client's expectations." And it calmed him down immediately. And actually, he ran that same line back on me again later. But it's difference. But it was the mindset. It was you teaching me the mindset and how to look at things and not take things so personal. And even the challenge of when I told you I was afraid to. I didn't go out and ask for business because I was afraid to get rejected. And your response, they're not saying no to you. They're saying no to the timing. They're saying no to the product. They're not saying no to you. That changed my mindset. After that, I was a whore when it came to asking.
Oh, that's funny. Isn't it funny how when we've been around somebody for a while, right? We take their story and turn it into it. As I often say, once I've given you credit for it for 3 times, then it's mine, right? And then I just run with it, kind of thing. Oh goodness. So let's talk about this new baby, because I think the business lesson and the transition that you made is really so amazing, right? I mean, and this is true, pandemic or no pandemic, right? So and this isn't necessarily about you and I working together as much as it is, the process of, you've got the successful business, something happens, right? It doesn't matter that it was COVID, it could have been anything. You and I have been talking for what, I don't know, 2 years about, yeah, you want to develop this Bon Appetit, y'all, this specialty condiments thing, and we turned it into a continuity where people get something every month. And that's all it was, right? And I kept saying, when are you going to do this? When are you going to do this? When are you going to do this? And then this event happens. Again, doesn't matter. Could have been a hurricane, could have been whatever, right?
Right.
And all of a sudden, the catering business goes really, from here to here,
Exactly.
like overnight almost. Now,
Like
we
a
had been
dead
talking about it
roach.
for a while, right? We knew this was coming. People who were
Right.
surprised by it, I'm still like, there's no magic bubble around the United States. This was coming, one way or the other. But, literally, and you just said it a minute ago, I said to you, like, you got 30 days. Let's get this thing rocking and rolling. You were like, what? Right. But you did it. Right. And so talk a little bit about sort of that process of what you went through when, business sort of tanked, and we knew it would come back. Right. But it wasn't coming back. We didn't know when. And so you've got to now do something to create income for yourself so that you can live and, do all of those things. And so you actually created 2 things. One of them has continued. The other was kind of a temporary stopgap, which but talk a little bit about sort of that transition and what that process was like.
Well, it was definitely a challenge because, you know, So when business stopped, the bills didn't stop. The utilities, the insurance, all that didn't stop.
Right.
Even the payroll for a while did not stop. So it's like, okay, now I have the bookings that I had on the book have now been canceled. I have nothing on the far seen horizon. Um, so you had started, preaching about, particularly to me, curbside cuisine. Let's do the meal planning. I hated that with a passion. Never did like that. Never wanted to do it, but at the time, I really didn't have much of a choice. So I launched that fairly quickly, and that one was a fairly easy transition into, because it wasn't far fetched from what we were already doing, and
Right.
just
And
had
so
to.
curbside essentially was people could either come there and pick up meals, or you were delivering meals like
Correct.
restaurants. And you did it. I think that the impressive thing for me was that you did it so quickly, right? It took the restaurants, I don't know, 3, 4 months. You
Right.
were doing it pretty much within 30 days of
Exactly. It was the only, and I won't even say difficult part of it, but the only work of putting that together really was defining the menus that we were going to do on a weekly basis, and the structure of how all this was going to work, and then setting it up for online purchase, because we haven't done e-commerce prior to that. But you were very helpful in helping that get set up. But so we did the curbside cuisine, and we started that, I think, in March of 20. Um, and we ran that for a little while, and it did okay starting off. But the biggest challenge with that was, every restaurateur, every uh, catering company, uh, the national organizations on down were telling you, okay, food prep delivery, food prep delivery, food prep delivery. Well, that's a challenge all by itself, because if you didn't have that market prior to this, there's people that already had a stronghold in that market. Number two, you're trying to introduce yourself or this service into that arena. And number three, there's already big national, huge brands that are doing it that people are familiar with. So that was an extremely competitive market. Um, and, it paid some bills here or there, but it definitely wasn't enough to sustain me. So it wasn't long after that, we started talking about the Bon Appetit, y'all, where you told me, Carlton, you've been talking about this for several years now. If there's never been a better time to pull the trigger, this is it. I was like, you're right. I just wasn't expecting 30 days to pull the trigger. And I tried to talk you into 60 if you weren't having it. So pulled the trigger, bit the bullet, and we did it. It was very challenging, because that was a market that, number one, I had never really done before, and this was like 100% true e-commerce versus the ordering the meals online. I had to in the 30 days I had to develop what products I was going to sell, what jams, jellies, barbecue sauces, or whatever, what they look like, how they were going to be packaged, how I was going to ship, what shipping was going to cost, create a website that you could purchase from in e-commerce. What story am I going to tell? All this, I mean, it was ordering the products. Okay, what bottles, what jars, where I'm going to find the cheapest one, where am I going to get my best deals, what are the assets that I need to put the package in. There was a lot to do,
yeah, the
but
labels.
I rolled up my sleeves and I did it. I was so proud of myself. And came July 1, we launched that sucker. We created a database going into it by doing reserve your spot, sign up now for the release of Bon Appetit, y'all. We had 112 people sign up for our email list. It's a baby list, but just starting off, I was proud. But when we pulled the trigger, then I had 112 people, 120 people to attack and say, buy my subscription.
Right, right.
And 10% of those people bought my subscription. So it was a great start. Um, and I really enjoy that business. I really, really enjoy it. I love the feedback that I'm getting now from the products, the opportunities that are coming. for it have been phenomenal. And it still has so much more potential. I'm learning as I go the things that I need to do, and I'm putting those things in place, and I'm seeing these opportunities open. Um, and most recently, I haven't shared this with you, but uh, 2 weeks ago, I had met with two other retailers, and one of them, and we'll talk offline about this. One of them wants to take me on wholesale, for sure, guaranteed. Here's the paperwork if you want to join. The other one wants to take me on, and it's an e-commerce site. Um, and they're a done deal. All I have to do is fill out the paperwork, get it back to them, and that's a whole
Wow.
different avenue that I can
Congratulations. That's great.
easily. And the terms were, I thought, quite attractive, particularly for the second one.
Right.
Uh,
So you know what's amazing to me, and again, you know, because I know you personally, you know, I'm obviously very proud, but it's this piece of, you know, you drag your feet on this thing for 2 years, you want to do it, but you know, the business is going okay, right? Then we have this event that happens, and I put you under the gun of get this done, right? And so, you know, we're going to do this as a membership, as a subscription, and so essentially the way it works is there. Carlton picks 2 items every month: a jelly and a barbecue sauce, or a jam and a barbecue sauce, or a jam and a, you know,
seasoning or
yeah,
a
seasoning,
ketchup.
right?
Yeah,
And you get that in the mail every month with recipes and ideas on how to use things. And it's really a cool thing, right? Especially during a time when people are cooking more at home. They're spending more time in the kitchen. They're being more creative. And so as bad as the timing was, as far as having anything happen in the world like happened, it's a positive from the perspective of all the things that were going on, right? And so
right.
you go from that piece of we're going to build this subscription brand to all of a sudden, again, partially because of some of the relationships that you currently built, and partially because of the certifications that you have, right? Now all of a sudden, you know, you're wholesaling these products. These products are on retail shelves potentially, and again, potentially, and not, you know, at this point we can't reveal certain things, but potentially one of the largest retailers in the United States is looking to put, you know, your products in their stores. And so
Mhm.
it, you know, and it's not, you know, some people would say, oh, well, gee, he was lucky. No, it wasn't luck. It was a lot of hard work. It was a
It
lot of
was a lot of
toil and
hard
a
work.
lot of, you know,
Right.
a lot of that. But I think the moral of the story is the same, right? It's that piece of when you put your nose to the grindstone and you have a goal and you set that goal to do something, you know, not only does it end up being great, good, right? But it ends up potentially being great and even awesome, because when you're doing the work and you're in it,
Right.
other good things always happen.
Right. Right. I agree with that wholeheartedly. And it, it was a lot of work, but it still comes down to tenacity and, you believing in yourself and having confidence. And, once again, you don't know all the answers, but it's like going in the forest and leaving little pebbles behind you so you can find your way back out. You learn different things as you go, and different doors open up. I found out so many things with this industry totally by accident, which I'm like, oh, so that's how that works. Okay, well, let me look into this. And it was those revelations that I found along the way that ultimately put me in the position to be able to be found by these national retailers and other people, and figuring out, okay, if I'm going to be on this platform and they're giving me the opportunity to stand out on this platform by doing XYZ, then I'm doing XYZ ABCDEF. And so I did that, and it worked, and the exposure, came, and exposure is still coming. But you still have to put in the work, and you still have to um, maneuver, and you can't just write it and sit back and wait. And I'm finding out in some areas um, that that's where some things aren't going as great as I'd like, because I haven't really afforded the time and put the time in it that I need to do certain things, to build certain portions of the business.
Yep.
Hopefully that will be coming to an end very soon. But it's all about, dedication to it and commitment to it, for sure.
Well, and sometimes it's the priority, right? I mean, you have to look at what's the highest payoff and what do I spend my time doing now that, and what can I come back to in a
Hmm.
month or whatever and put time into that will then, create that, right? Because
Right.
there's as I often say, one is always the worst number in business. You don't want to have all your eggs in one basket. And I think,
Right.
you've now created, three different revenue streams, and even inside of Bon Appetit, y'all, now you've got three inside of there, right? You've got the subscription, you've got potentially the retail and the wholesale. And so
Hmm.
having those different avenues and having money coming in now from different streams, I think is always a hugely important piece of any successful business.
Right. Right. Yep.
So Carlton, we talked about the certification. So you're pretty out in your company because you've got, obviously the LGBT, you've got the minority, and you've got the veteran. Any challenges that you've seen from growing from a business growth perspective by, being open and out in the world today?
For me, zero. Um, I think part of it has to do with, and I won't say everybody won't have that situation. I think it's, you have to be comfortable with who you are first and foremost. Um, and then just for me, I think I've never had a problem sharing it. Um, I don't wear it on my sleeve, but at the same token, I never have a problem sharing it. But I think that um, it has not affected me, probably because people, my clients and people I deal with, see me first before they see my sexuality, and they like the me, so they're going to be supportive of who me is. So I've never had any backlash or any negative or any, remote thing where I ever regretted telling somebody. And if they did, then that's not my client. If I can't be real and who I am, I don't care how much you pay me. If that's your issue, then there's other caterers out there.
Right.
But it's never held me back.
Good.
It's definitely never held me back.
What's the best business advice you've ever given or that you'd like to leave listeners with?
Get a business coach.
I did not pay him to say that, just for the record.
And I say that because I go back to it, and I can't tell you, Diane, and I brag about you all the time when you have no clue. When you hear that, you feel your little ear burning. Yeah, maybe somebody chewing in your ear, but most likely it's because I'm talking to you, talking about you. But um, I tell people all the time, when the subject comes up, I says, man, we as an entrepreneur or solopreneur, we're not in corporate America. You're not surrounded by desks and desks and desks of people who are doing the same thing you're doing. You're sitting in your own little lone office, your own little lone corner, trying to figure this thing out. Yeah, you can pick up the phone and call somebody, but you're not surrounded by that energy. So once again, the biggest thing is you don't know what you don't know. And some of the things that for years I would shop all for all my food and stuff for catering events at Kroger's, paying the highest retail prices in the world for something that I'm trying to resell to somebody else. I didn't know any better. I had no relationship with other caterers. Um, and so I just didn't know. I was doing it as best as I could with what information that I had. And then somebody shared with me one day, oh, have you heard about Restaurant Depot? No, what's that? Oh my God, let me take you. The heavens opened up. I'm like, where the hell have I been all this time? So you just don't know what you don't know. And dealing with a business coach, well, let me preface that by saying a good business coach, because there's so many business coaches that will preach you technique and preach you the book, but they can't really follow it up with showing you how to make decisions and moves based on outside of what the book, layout of this is. But the one thing I tell, people, I said, Diane, she doesn't know everything, but that woman knows a hell of a lot. And if she doesn't know, she probably knows somebody who she could refer me to get the answer. And so that has been a huge asset for me in, number one, looking at my business in a different perspective. Number one, reframing my mindset and how I looked at business and how I looked at different challenges I was having. Totally reframed my mindset to where I can roll like a boss now. I mean, I feel very confident in what I'm doing. I still have there's a lot of stuff that I don't know, but where I'm at today compared to where I was 5, 6 years ago, and my mindset, and the fact that my coach has preached to me, think like a marketer, think like a marketer. So now I find myself in grocery stores like, oh, why did they do that? Oh, look at this display. Stuff I would have never paid attention to before, but now I analyze a little thing, even little commercials. It could be one word in a commercial, and I was like, oh my God, that was a brilliant use of that word. I would have never thought of that kind of stuff like that, but now it's in my mindset and my psyche. That would be my best advice. And if you can't afford a business coach, just get a good mentor, somebody that you can bounce off and that you respect, that they can give you guidance. But that is so critical for somebody that works in the bubble like we all do as entrepreneurs.
Yeah, that's great advice. Great advice. Where do you think, what do you think is the most important issue or issues dealing specifically with the community that's coming up, or that you see kind of in the near future?
Hmm.
And I didn't prep you for that one.
You didn't.
I didn't prep you for any of this. That's why this is always
Yeah.
so great, because it's whatever comes off the cuff. And it's okay if you don't have an answer.
Well, I think the biggest challenge now is the unfortunate mishap that we've had in the last 4 years where um, Pandora's box has been opened and a lot of evil and ugliness has come out and is hovering around us, and it's not going back in that box.
Right.
We were good while that box was closed. I won't even say we were good, but we were in a much better position when that box was closed. Now that it's open, there's no cramming that stuff back in there.
Yep.
People are feeling free and funky and cocky about who they are, what they are, all this ugliness. So I think it's going to be particular in the LGBT community, definitely more challenges because you've got these biased, racist, whatever, homophobic people that now feel that they're entitled to express themselves openly and they don't care how it affects others. So I say, you know, the life that we had 4 years ago um, will probably be no longer anytime soon. So that being said, I think just in nature with the community, we are going to see more pushback on our rights, more pushback on equality and all those things. It's just natural because you've got 50-50 two parties fighting and somebody's going to win here or there. It's not going to be like no matter how much I believe and how much the group that I'm in believes, there's only so far we can get because there's another almost equally strong force pushing up against us, and we're going to have to deal with that for it'll be a long time for us pushed back in the box.
Yeah, I agree. Carlton, this has been great. Give everybody your contact information, how to get in touch with you, how if they are interested in looking at the Bon Appetit membership, how do they go find out more information about that?
Fantastic. Well, so our website for Bon Appetit, y'all, by Carlton is BAY for Bon Appetit, y'all, BAY by Carlton.com. That'll take you to the site where you can learn about our subscription program, and you can also see the products that we sell individually. But our subscription program is incredible. You get some really great products each month that are fun, and we show you how to use the items in a different manner than what you would typically do. On all social media, I'm Chef Carlton B. And if you want to look at the my occasional occasions is occasionaloccasionscatering.com. And yes, that's my dog in the background.
Cooper.
Exactly. I want to shut the door, but let me hold on.
This is why we do these live and unedited, folks, so that we can enjoy Cooper barking in the background, or someone pulling up to the front and me looking out.
Exactly. But yeah, reach out to us, and this has been fun, Diane. It's been enjoyable.
Yeah, well, sometimes I can be enjoyable. So, but seriously, if you're interested in certainly the Bon Appetit Y'all membership program, it is an amazing program. I get it every month. It's just fun barbecue sauces, different sauces and seasonings, and the jellies and jams are just. Sometimes I'm like, what? And then you try it, like, whoa.
That's the one thing I really like about the Bon Appetit Y'all's, the creative flavor and groupings, and hands down our most popular barbecue sauce is the bacon bourbon barbecue sauce. People are literally losing their mind across the country on that one. And then our, jams, just some really fun. My favorite, chocolate raspberry jam.
Yep.
Oh my God, I could die for that 24/7.
You know, when I got that, it was so thick. I was like, oh my gosh, but it spreads. It's easy. It's like, I put that little Humber on a graham cracker, sometimes with some peanut butter. And that's all she wrote. All right. Well, Carlton, as always, thank you so much. That's it for today, folks. This edition of Queer Profits Podcast. Thanks for being here. Whether you're queer or straight, you have these kinds of issues in your life and in your business. If you want to take your business and make it more profitable, take it to the next level, I've got a free report for you. It's called The 3 Keys to Growing Your Business Fast, Getting More Clients, and Making More Money. You can check that out. Just go to queerprofits.com and get yours today. It'll take you 33 seconds, so do it right now while you're thinking about it. As always, we'd love to hear your comments and your suggestions. If you have any, let us know. This is the easy for me to say, right? Queer Profits Podcast is always about bringing our entire community together for the good of all of us. And as business leaders, we can do just that. It's actually, I believe, our responsibility to do this, just that. Integration, unity, acceptance. It starts with each and every one of us every single day. I'm Diane Conklin. Until next time, make it a great day.